The borderlands in the KZN Underberg turn into a battlefield. In the epic, Western-inspired Showmax original drama series, Outlaws. Coming 6 September, only on Showmax.
Okay, hello and good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to have you join us this Tuesday evening for our monthly Thoughtful Childbirth webinars, where tonight we'll be looking at breastfeeding issues. So hopefully you will all find it interesting, helpful, and beneficial to spend your time with us this evening. For those of you who don't know me, my background is a nursing sister and midwife and an internationally certified childbirth educator. I'm passionate about informed choices, evidence-based birth, knowing your options, and I'm also passionate about breastfeeding. The Zoom etiquette for tonight, the microphones are muted. If you want to ask any questions, do put it in the chat box. They won't be answered immediately, but I promise you by the end of this evening, we'll have answered as many as we possibly can. So we'll go through what we've got to go through, and there will be a question and answer session closer to the end. Giveaways, you'll need to be present in the room at the time to be eligible to win. And filling out the feedback form at the end of the evening will also put you in the draw for the giveaways, as well as you will receive a certificate of attendance. Thanks to Jason, Tammy, and Seth behind the scenes. So hopefully it will be a smooth technological evening. That's always the aim. It isn't always what ends up happening, but we certainly do try our best technologically. In case you don't know us at Baby Talk, we've got a wide range of information to offer you. We've got the Expectant Mother's Guide, Expectant Father's Guide. You can find those mags on expectantmothersguide.coza. You can receive it on your tablet, your mobile, online. And you can also find it on the Expectant Mother's Guide Journey app as well. We've got the To Mummy collated digital newsletter, okay, which is our monthly newsletter, basically saying we know that you want to access information off the internet, but are you accessing really good, reputable, evidence-based websites? And really what we try and do is to actually give you the opportunity to be shown really good evidence-based websites that you know that if you go to those websites, you will really be finding very good information that is up to date, that is evidence-based. We also offer consults on birthing options and informed choices. And then we do the Thoughtful Childbirth free monthly webinars aimed at pregnant mums and dads. And we offer a variety of topics that are really important for pregnant mums and dads to actually know about. The next one is on Friday, the 6th of October, and that is how to look after a sick child. It's a really good idea to find that out and how to do it before you have your baby, so that you actually are well prepared for when your little one does get ill. The one in November is on prematurity and what it entails, and that one's on Thursday, the 9th of November. Remember, you can book anytime. It's always open at thoughtfulchildbirth.co, free to attend. Get your friends, families, partners, grandparents, everybody to actually update their own information so that you're all on the same page as a family. When you fill out your feedback form at the end of this evening, you'll receive your certificate of attendance. I'm ready to take breastfeeding to the next level. So one day when your child turns around and said, well, what did you do to prepare for me? You can pull out all of these certificates of attendance and said, I certainly did my best. Okay, our rough program for the evening, it runs from 7 until 9. We'll be looking at breastfeeding issues, covering breastfeeding gadgets, breastfeeding essentials, blebs, cracked nipples, sore nipples, tongue ties, engorgement, mastitis, blocked ducts, low milk supply, power pumping, fast letdown, demur, and expressing. Okay, we will be taking about a 10-minute break, somewhere in the region of about 8-ish or so, just so that everyone can have a time just to be refreshed, and then we can settle down to the next session. And once we've finished all that, there will be time for questions and giveaways. Okay, so tonight we're going to be doing things a little bit differently to what we normally do on a monthly basis. And tonight we're going to be looking at the lactation station. So breastfeeding is a normal event that occurs ideally within the first hour or two after birth and continues for as long as both parent and baby desire. In reality, breastfeeding is the next big challenge after birth. And that's without a doubt. They're both big challenges in their own rights, birth as well as breastfeeding. We know that while natural, it is often something that a new baby and parent need to learn as a diet, and there can be challenges during the early days and weeks. And because you breastfeed so many times in 24 hours, it can feel never ending with those challenges, because no sooner have you completed a feed than you onto the next feed. And if you are battling, it really can be incredibly challenging. Now, some of those challenges require the use of specialized equipment, while other situations may arise where new parents find it helpful to have some things on hand to help things go more smoothly. Now, many of these items may be completely unfamiliar. And to gain more familiarity about what items might be handy to have around when lactation is getting started or facing some hurdles. We are by no means, saying you need all of these things that we are going to be speaking about during this evening. No, we are just trying to highlight and let you know what things are available, that should you have a problem, you then know that there is something to help sort it out. So we are not recommending that you get any of these things. Okay, your body comes with breasts, and that is generally what you need. And so you don't have to go and buy a huge amount of extra gadgets and things, but they all have their time and place. And that is really, we are there tonight to actually just highlight some of the things that are available. So tonight we've got some breastfeeding items in a box, and we're going to pull an item out one at a time. And tonight you're going to participate and you're going to guess as to what the item is and then why should we use that item? What is it signifying? What is it reminding us? What issue is it going to help us through? Okay, so anybody who participates tonight will be sent a gift voucher for an infant hydrotherapy session. It is in Edenvale, so I'm sorry if you are all around the country, but you will still be sent one, and maybe you've got family or friends who can take up the gift voucher. But everybody who participates in our lactation bag, our lactation box, okay, our lactation station, you will be emailed this hydrotherapy voucher from Hydrotopia. Okay, so let's just put it in the chat box. What is the first item you see? And what do you think it's there to remind us about or make us think about? So get busy in the chat box and let's hear what you actually have to say. Okay, come on. What is that? Surely you all know what that item is. That's it. Wonderful. It's a teddy bear. Okay, the chat box is in the way. How's about that? Hopefully that will actually help. It's to remind us to comfort the baby, teddy bear for comfort, to cuddle with, to comfort baby, mom's purpose with breastfeeding, teddy bear to remind you to be gentle and warm with baby, teddy, soft and cuddly, lacquer cuddle toys, wonderful, teddy bear for warm hugs. You're getting the idea. I'm glad you're actually all participating. A teddy bear is a reminder to give baby lots of cuddles. And this is really important if you are struggling with breastfeeding, because when we are struggling with something, we don't necessarily feel like we want to cuddle our baby, that we are actually not necessarily at peace with if we are having anxiety and issues and problems. And also the teddy bear, okay, a different spelling of bear, B-A-R-E, reminding us just how important skin to skin for mom and baby is, particularly in those early days. Okay, so many people think that skin to skin is just, you know, for that first hour after birth. Oh no, skin to skin should be there as much as possible 24/7 for the next 3 or 4 months. Okay, that is really, really important. And skin to skin is even more important if we are battling and having issues, because it is incredible what the power of skin to skin actually can do, both for mom, both for baby, okay, and breastfeeding as well. Okay. All right, the next one. Let's hear your ideas about that. Well, I'm so glad that you've been able to identify it's an apple. Yes, nutrition is actually one of the things we need to feed mom. An apple for nourishment. Babies latch on the breast. Yes, you can practice how a baby should be latching when you take a big, nice bite of an apple. Apple munchies for mom, apple nutrition for mom, apple for health. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. An apple for snacking, nutrition and hydration, the latch of the baby. An apple to keep the doctors away. Wonderful. We're certainly getting the gist of this that we are trying to achieve. Yes, a reminder about the correct latch. You want your baby to have a very big open mouth as they actually latch onto the breast. Healthy snacks for breastfeeding, that's really important too. Okay, the next one. Oopsie, sorry. Nipple shields, silver nipple shields. Yes, for sore breasts, nipple protection, healing. It heals cracked nipples. Great. Okay, so these particular ones are the silver mama nipple cups. And the silver mama nipple cups are crafted from 925 sterling silver to protect and heal nipples during breastfeeding. The cups are especially effective because of the incredible healing properties of silver. You don't need any additional creams or anything, and this prevents your baby from ingesting anything foreign or unfamiliar. And they are one of the best methods of preventing and treating cracked nipples. And you look at these little cups and you say, what an interesting concept. Okay, so that is all about silver and how important it is. And I don't know how many of you realize how important silver is and the healing properties that are in silver. And even today on my emails, they've actually released eardrops that contain colloidal silver. And last month it was nose drops that contained colloidal silver. So really, the fact that silver is going to help prevent and treat cracked nipples, it is something that is interesting to know about. Somebody says they've never seen or heard of this before, thought it was coffee pods. That's actually quite sweet. Good. Okay, so what do you think this one is? So a suction device of some sort? Absolutely. A breast pump? No, not a manual breast pump. Breast suction nipple extractor. Wonderful. We're getting closer. I suppose it's quite difficult to actually look at that on the screen and decide how big it is, but it's not very big at all. So definitely not a breast pump, but yes, a suction device for inverted nipples. Looks like a hacker for clogged ducts. Great. At least your brains are thinking and trying to work all this out. Called a nipple everter, others are called a nipple puller, and it gently draws out the nipple for easier latch on. That little purple bulb is a suction bulb, and what you can actually do is that you depress the suction bulb, and so for somebody who's got inverted or very flat nipples, during your pregnancy, you can actually use it to help draw the nipple out so that actually it becomes easier for your baby to latch onto. And again, even just if you've got very flat or inverted nipples, you can have it just before you actually latch your baby. So your baby's, half positioned in your arms, ready to latch, and you can just use that a few times, and it just helps to actually free that nipple, get the nipple to actually stand out a little bit more so that it is easier for the baby to actually latch onto. Great. Okay, how about that one? Milk collectors, wearable milk collectors. Breast shields, collects milk letdown, no idea. Yes, so that means a lot of you are already actually learning something because you don't know what these things are. Milk cups to wear inside your bra. Wonderful. Yes, they're called breast shells. Okay, and if you have a look at that, the top picture on the box, you can see that there are two parts to the breast shell. One, it's got place for the nipple to fit through, and on the other side that clips in is a dome. So it actually seals it around your nipple area. And so, yes, they are nursing cups. So yes, you can actually sterilize them. And as your baby is feeding off the one breast, the other one can actually, particularly if you've got a very strong letdown, that while your baby is feeding, the letdown actually causes your breast, the other breast, to leak at the same time, and the milk can be collected and used later, put in the fridge, put in the freezer, and so that you can actually save all that milk instead of just letting it, be soaked up by a towel or something along those lines. Okay, it also protects sore nipples. If your nipples get really, really sore, and if they are so sore you don't want anything to touch them, and clothing is even hurting them, these are wonderful things to wear inside your bra, and it keeps absolutely everything off those nipple areas, giving them a chance to actually heal. Yes, they're generally made of soft and flexible silicone material, but certainly time and place and use for many different things, and wonderful if you have a need in any of those areas. Okay, so let's move on. What are all these funny shaped gadgets? Okay, breast shields for breast comfort, nipple shields. Good, we're getting the things for those of you who have recently just joined us. Okay, what we're doing is that we are calling out one product at a time from the lactation station, the lactation bag, whatever you'd like to say, just highlighting a few things that are available out there that you may need to actually know about should you run into different problems breastfeeding. We are not recommending these things. We are not telling you to go out and buy them. Absolutely not. We're just saying at this stage, know about them, know what is available. So should you actually have a problem, you do know that there are certain things out there. And what we're doing is that we're putting in the chat box what the product is, what it be used for, and those that participate will get a voucher from Hydrotopia emailed to them. Okay, Yes, so these are nipple shields, and you can see that they are all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Some, as you can see from the picture of them putting one on the artificial breast, it is very, very thin, and is just almost just a thin film that is covering the nipple and part of the breast. And so some are very thin, very flexible, and then you do get ones that are more secure fitting, and actually some that are quite hard materials against the nipple area. But if you've got inverted nipples, that can be beneficial. So they are all different shapes and sizes, and also different nipple sizes. We all have different nipples, you know, going from the size of your little pinky to the size of your thumb. And obviously the one size nipple shield isn't necessarily what's going to work. Okay, you need to find one that is the correct size for your nipple. And so you get them smaller sizes and larger sizes. Again, it's not something that under ideal circumstances we want moms to use. There is nothing as good as a baby sucking directly from the breast. That is going to be best for mom, best for baby, best for breastfeeding. Okay, so we ideally want to do it without any of these things. But sometimes if somebody's got very inverted nipples, actually a nipple shield will help them be able to breastfeed, whereas without a nipple shield, they may not be able to breastfeed. Okay, so again, with all of these things, there's time and place for everything. Okay, so now we're going to just do a little bit of info on certain conditions, but we will come back to our lactation grab bag during this evening. Okay, so now we're going to look at what is called a bleb. And the picture that you are looking at on screen is really highlighting the nipple area right on the tip of the nipple, looking down at the rest of the nipple and the breast surrounding it. Now, a bleb is a milk blister or a blocked nipple pore. Okay, in a nipple, we do not just have one outlet of milk. Okay, there are many little holes, okay, where the milk comes out of, and a bleb is one of those little ducts that has got blocked. And it's simply milk under the skin. There is a covering of skin that is over it, and so the milk isn't able to free flow out of that little duct. Okay, and the milk backs up behind it, and that is why you can see in all these pictures down the side that actually you've got this raised little milk area. The milk is actually showing through, but it can't escape because of this bit of skin that overgrows the milk duct opening. So it is a painful little spot that is very, very isolated. The reason it's becoming painful is the milk is building up, and so the pressure is increasing in that little duct. So it is very localized pain that one experiences. And when it clears, okay, the pain, it's a wonderful relief from that pain, and it is no longer painful at all as that pressure is actually reduced. And it's either can be white, or you can actually see if that milk has hardened, becomes a toothpaste-like consistency. You can get this long string of breast milk that actually comes out because it actually has been there and it hasn't just been formed. It's no longer in as fluid as it should be. So remember, this pain is focused directly behind that little bleb, behind that little blocked duct in the nipple area. And if you compress the breast so that milk is forced down the ducts, okay, the blister will typically bulge outwards. And hopefully, as in that top picture, it actually is able to escape. That pressure is decreased and there's no more pain at that as once that pressure is reduced. Now, we talk about a little blister, but this is not a blister that is the same as a blister on a nipple that is caused by friction. Okay, these two things are vastly different. Okay, and so a blister on the nipple caused by friction, that can sometimes be red or brown or a blood blister. Okay, and that's because the baby has got an improper latch or improper sucking. And this type of blister, okay, the problem is nipple damage due to friction rather than a milk duct opening being blocked. So we need to be very, very sure of what we are talking about and that we actually understand. So a bleb is a milk blister because there is a covering of skin preventing the milk getting out, and a friction blister is because the baby isn't latched well, and it is a different type of blister, different color blister, and that pain will only get worse if you don't correct the root cause, which is often incorrect latching or incorrect suckling. Okay, so with these milk blisters or blebs, okay, there are a couple of steps to helping resolve this problem. Okay, we can apply moist heat, okay, before we actually start nursing this baby. We want to clear the skin from the milk duct, and you can either nurse or you can use a hospital grade pump and follow up with medication to aid healing. And you may need to repeat this for several days or longer until the blocked duct opening stays clear. And, you know, sometimes you can actually just clear it and it stays cleared. Other times it actually, as they say, you need to repeat this a few times a day for a few days until it's all up and running and open again. Okay, so we want to apply that moist heat to soften that blister to nursing, prior to nursing, several times a day. You can add a saline soak prior to applying the moist heat, or you can use an Epsom salt soak before breastfeeding because it helps to open the milk duct opening and also aids in the healing process. So you make a solution of Epsom salts. You take 2 teaspoons of Epsom salts to 1 cup of water, and you are going to actually dissolve it in a very small amount of very hot water, okay, and then add cold water till it gets to be a nice warm temperature. And you can add this Epsom salt soak to your routine at least 4 times during the day, okay? Or every time before you feed, it really is going to make a difference. Okay. So you want to clear the skin from the milk duct, and this may not be necessary as the combination of the heat, the nursing, the pumping should cause the skin to expand and the blister to open. Okay, so this warmth is going to help, this Epsom salt is going to help. The fact your baby is sucking on this area, that vacuum, is hopefully going to actually clear that blockage and that blister and open it up and let that milk flow. If there is a plug protruding from the nipple, you can gently pull on it with clean fingers. Okay, and that can be very helpful. Sometimes you can loosen an edge of the blister by gently scraping with your clean fingernail. Okay, And if that doesn't help, then go and see a healthcare professional who can actually open it with a sterile needle or something like that. We need to get that area open and free flowing. We can nurse or pump, all right? When your baby wakes up and wants to nurse, okay, put your baby on the affected side first, because as your baby starts suckling, that baby is going to have a stronger suck at the beginning when he's really hungry. And so if we are wanting to clear something, okay, we put the baby onto the affected breast first. Before you nurse, can be helpful to use breast compressions and attempt to hand express back, behind, and down toward the nipple to release any thickened milk that is backed up in the duct. As you can see, that bottom picture on the left just shows it really, really nicely. So don't be shocked when something like that, or you get that string of hardened milk. Okay, it is what is going to clear the problem. And that is what we want to achieve. There are additional things you can use, lecithin supplements. They can help to heal and prevent recurrent plugged ducts. Massaging the breast, the areola, the nipple area with a massage oil containing grapefruit seed extract can help to heal recurrent milk blisters. To make the massage oil, mix a few drops of that grapefruit seed extract or citrus seed extract into olive oil. Another treatment for persistent milk blisters, once per day, spray the breast and nipple area with a solution consisting of 5 drops of grapefruit seed extract, a 1/4 cup of vinegar, and 2 cups of water. Others find that vitamin E ointment applied very sparingly and wiped off before feeding, because too much vitamin E can be toxic to your baby, can also help. So there are quite a variety of things that one can try and do, and often it will sort out the problem. Okay, so now we look at the blisters of the sore variety, when we get cracked and sore nipples. And I'm sure as you look at these pictures, you actually cringe with the pain, because you can feel just how sore it actually is. Now, one thing with breastfeeding that is very, very important, after the first suck or two, that can be very, very sensitive when your breasts aren't used to a baby latching on them. It should not be sore at all when your baby is sucking correctly on the breast. And so don't think, oh goodness, I'm going to clench my teeth, I'm just going to, grin and bear the pain. Absolutely not. That's the worst thing that you can do. And all you're going to be doing is making the problem worse and a lot more painful. If it is sore when your baby is sucking, you want to take your baby off as soon as possible. Use your finger, release the suction on your, so that you can release the nipple from your baby's mouth, okay, and actually re-latch and reposition your baby. Okay, so something that the person who's generally got nipples like this, they've grinned and bared it, instead of realizing that there is an issue and it needs to be corrected. Okay, so it should not be painful when your baby is sucking on the breast. Okay, and if it is, take that baby off and relatch it, reposition it. And if it actually doesn't improve, you then immediately call a lactation consultant in, because we don't want to get these nipples to the state where they are raw and bleeding and incredibly painful, because it really does take a long time for nipples to actually heal. So rather make sure that you don't run into these very, very sore and cracked nipples. Okay, it is not normal, it is not acceptable for nipples to be sore. Okay, so there are a number of reasons that can cause cracked and sore nipples. The one is a poor latch. Okay, so our baby hasn't opened his mouth really nicely. He isn't taking a nice big bite at that apple. Okay, and maybe he's sucking in his bottom lip instead of splaying it out. Okay, perhaps mom hasn't got that baby nicely positioned at the height of the breast. Okay, you don't want to lean down into your baby. You want to lift your baby up to the breast. Okay, and so we want this baby to be facing the mom. Its head must face mom, its tummy must face mom, and its legs must face mom. So we don't want baby on the back. We want baby on its side, head facing mom, tummy to mummy, okay, and legs facing mom. And so that is one of the most common problems, that we've got a poor latch, a bad position, and there's being drag put on the nipple, and this is what causes cracked and sore nipples. Okay, we will come to talk about tongue ties. That is going to be another reason that you can get cracked and sore nipples, because the baby has got restrictions in its mouth and it can't open its mouth correctly and get a proper, good, correct latch. Also, if the milk supply is low or the milk supply is very fast, that can lead to cracked and sore nipples. So most importantly, if your nipples are feeling sore, we need to find what is the underlying reason for that cracked nipple. Because it's no good just putting a plaster on the problem and hope it heals. We need to get back to the root of the problem, correct the problem area, and by doing that, we will actually improve the cracked and sore nipples. But we don't want to get to the state, remember, when nipples are cracked and sore. We want to remedy the problem and sort it out. And sometimes they're very minor adjustments that need to be made in order to prevent these cracked and sore nipples. So hopefully you'll understand. You don't grin and bear it. If you can't sort the problem out, you get hold of a lactation consultant ASAP, and not in a week's time for a consult. You need a consult that day. Okay, it is really important. All right, so when you've got a bleb, you want the strong pressure that your baby's going to be sucking with. So you're going to start your baby on that affected side. With cracked and sore nipples, you don't want that baby sucking with that strong, intense suck. And so we use the less sore side first. Okay, because the baby will feed with less intensity later in the feed when they are not so hungry. You can also apply some ice to the nipple area before the feed, so it helps numb it and get through that initial latch, which is the most painful. Okay, but remember, these are all band-aids. Okay, they're going to help the problem. We need to also sort out what the bottom line problem actually is. We need to try different positions until we get comfortable. Remember, we have an infinite number of positions that the baby can actually be on the breast at. Nobody says it has to be in the conventional position like this or under the arm like that. Okay, nobody said you've got 360 degrees that this baby can actually feed at. So you've got 360 positions the baby can feed at. And so if the nipple is sore, make sure you rotate that position, the rotate positions, so that the pressure isn't always in the same part of that nipple. If it is too painful to feed, okay, very important. You need to actually keep expressing, whether it's manually expressing or with a breast pump, because you don't want blocked ducts, you don't want mastitis, and most importantly, you want to actually maintain your milk supply. And so it's very important that actually your baby is suckling off the breast or you are expressing. And the good thing is that it might be painful when their baby sucks, but when you actually express with a breast pump or hand express, it is not sore at all. Okay, so there is that to it. You don't have to think, oh goodness, this pump is going to hurt me even more. No, it is not sore. You can do normal saline rinses after the feed to keep it clean, and you can just pat it dry. The most helpful thing to actually decrease the amount of bacteria, keep that sore area clean, is by expressing a couple of drops of breast milk and actually rubbing it into the nipple and breast area. It's bacteriostatic. It's got a lot of healing properties to it. And then we can keep that nipple area exposed to air and avoid friction. Okay, so that is where your breast shells, if you've got very sore nipples, actually comes in, and it keeps it avoids friction of any sort from all clothing. Okay. You can use an antibacterial soap when showering to gently clean the area, rinse well under running water. Okay, so here we've got a few pictures showing you about tongue ties. So if you lift your tongue up, okay, there's a little frenulum or a piece of skin, okay, that is attached from under your tongue to the bottom of the mouth, okay? And for some babies, this frenulum isn't in the correct place. So for some babies, it is really obviously a huge issue, and it's very easy to see when that frenulum is attached right from the tip of the tongue. And so that baby can't possibly get that tongue out of its mouth. And that really is a huge, huge problem. There are different degrees of tongue ties, okay, from very severe from the top. They're very restrictive. And not only is it going to be a latching problem with your baby, but it will also be a speech problem for your baby as your little one learns to speak. And so you get tongue ties in the front, you get tongue ties at the back, you can get lip ties. And so it is really important to know that tongue ties do exist, that tongue ties can be a huge issue. And if you are having sore, cracked nipples and you're sure that you're correctly positioning your baby and it is still sore when that baby sucks, you need to go to somebody who can actually look at your baby's mouth, do an oral examination and say, yes, your baby's got a tongue tie, or no, it hasn't. And if a baby has got a tongue tie, sometimes it needs to be clipped or cut. It really is a very, very quick procedure and makes the world of difference, both to your milk supply, your sore nipples, your speech problems with your little ones. And so don't wait for weeks on end to see if it's going to improve or doesn't. Okay, the sooner that tongue tie is cut, if it needs to be cut, the better for you, your baby, and your breast milk supply. So again, very important that you know such things exist. And some healthcare professionals think that it's not an issue and they don't exist. And that is why if you think there's a problem, you go to somebody who deals with tongue ties. And if you don't know who does, you can always get hold of us at Baby Talk, and we can pass on the contact details of people who do deal with tongue ties. It really can make instant changes to you and your baby's life. Okay, so the breastfeeding positions, okay, we said that one of the reasons nipples get sore is because your baby isn't correctly positioned. And we said there are 360 odd positions that your baby can actually be placed at on the breast. But you've got principles of position, okay? The fact is your baby must be at the correct height of the breast. Don't put your baby down there and lean down to your baby. So your baby is at the height of your breast, and your baby must face mom, or must face the breast, its head, its body, and its legs. And so that is a very, very important principle that you can then link to any position that you want your baby in to breastfeed. Okay, it is also very important that your baby is latched on correctly. Now, we covered the normal part of breastfeeding last month, but these two things are really, really important just to highlight. So we want this baby correctly latched on. And so if you have a look at picture number 1, okay, you position your baby with the nose to the nipple, okay, or the nipple to the nose. That baby's chin must be in contact with the breast. If we go back to the thing about the apple, okay, when you're taking a big bite of an apple, you almost put your apple at the chin, okay, as you bite up and over it. Okay, so very important that nipple to nose, the chin is in contact with the breast, okay, and then as baby opens his mouth, you roll the nipple in and try to get a lot of breast below the nipple into the mouth. The nipple slips in last, and baby has a good deep latch. And if you look at the picture, the big picture on the left, okay, that you want the chin in contact with the breast, you want the bottom lip open and flanged, and hence if there's a lip tie, a baby can't assume that position. You want as much of the nipple and areola in that baby's mouth as possible, and you want that top lip also flanged open. Okay, and that is your correct latch-on position. And if you want to look at any of these posters, pamphlets, all of these things, you will find them on the Expectant Mother's Guide website under resources, under Skin to Skin or Pregnancy Education Week. You'll find all the helpful posters and pamphlets there. Okay, so we're back to our interaction. What do you think is this contraption this time? Any ideas? Have no idea, says Pelisa. A breast massager, a lactation massager. No idea. Okay, so let's move that out of the way. This happens to be a warming lactation massager. It's the Lavie one. It's got 2 little pads. It's got heat and a vibration support for improved milk flow, clogged ducts, engorgement, mastitis. So that is quite an interesting little contraption. And what do you think this one is? Benita says the same. Okay, these are obviously a few things we haven't seen before. This is a lactation massager, just also one of the Levy ones. It's waterproof. It's breastfeeding support for clogged ducts, milk starters, improve milk flow, engorgement. How about that one? Oopsie, oh goodness, looking. Some sort of stimulator, the same. Yes, this is a lactation massage roller. Okay, also a Levy one, and the breastfeeding support to improve milk flow, reduce engorgement, simplify breast massage. So they just aids for when our breasts need a bit of massage, heat, etc. How about that one? Okay, this is also a lactation massager. This is a Freedom Mom 1-2-in-1 lactation massager, multiple modes of heat and vibration, again for clogged milk ducts, increased milk flow, breast engorgement, and this one even has a USB cord included. How about these? What do you think these are going to be used for? Yes, breast soothers, breast cooling pads, heating cooling pad, that's right, to soothe painful breasts. Great. We are going to continue with engorgement. Okay, so around day 2 to 5, your milk increases as transition to mature milk, and it's normal for the breast to feel bigger and heavier. Now, the breast and the areola, that brown area around the nipple is the areola, should remain soft and elastic so that milk flow and latch is not affected. So your signs of engorgement is the breasts feel hard, there's tight, stretched, shiny skin, it's warm to the touch, it's tender, throbbing. Your breast may extend right under your arm into your armpit. The areola may feel hard. The nipples are flat and taut because everything is just so swollen and engorged. You might even have a low-grade fever. Now, to prevent or decrease engorgement in those early days of breastfeeding, nurse early and often, don't skip any feeds. Okay, so it's really one of the few times you would say that wake a baby up. You know, don't let this newborn baby sleep for hours and hours and hours, but every 2 to 3 hours, wake this baby, let this baby feed frequently, and this often will then prevent the excessive engorgement occurring. Apart from that, nurse on demand, your baby should want to feed very frequently, and that does help. Don't limit baby's time at the breast, and learn baby's cues of fullness or wind. Ensure a correct latch and baby is removing milk well. Okay, some babies will be latched on and they are not really suckling properly, they're not effectively transferring milk, they're not effectively draining the breast of milk, they're not really breastfeeding, and they're just kind of hovering there and using you more as a dummy than actually having milk exchange taking place. Okay, so we need to make sure that this baby is actually removing milk well, and express it every feed if baby isn't nursing from you. So if for any reason your baby's not feeding, you need to be expressing every few hours. Okay, and it feels as though it goes on ad infinitum, but actually it is not forever, and very quickly things do change. And that is what you must realize when you're having a bad day. It's not going to be like that forever. These things do pass. And so your engorgement too shall pass. But let's try and help prevent this engorgement with this frequent feeding of this newborn baby. But if your breasts do become engorged, okay, gently massage from the outside in. You can use cool compresses followed by moist, warm compress before nursing. Okay, that cold and then heat, cold heat, it stimulates the blood flow and helps clear the engorgement and get the milk flowing. You're going to use reverse pressure softening, which we'll show you in a minute, or hand expression. But don't decrease your fluid intake, okay? It's not going to make a difference for this engorged breast, but do avoid tight-fitting bras, okay? They can negatively affect these breasts. Okay. All right. So we mentioned know the hunger cues for breastfeeding. You need to learn what baby's cues are and feed when your baby is hungry. And some people don't even know there are things called feeding cues. And so get used to looking at your baby. Your baby is an intelligent little creature and tells you so much, and respond to it. Learn what your baby is saying to you, and so that you can actually prevent any problems occurring. So you get your early feeding cues. When your baby is saying to you, I'm hungry, it's time to feed me. So your baby is stirring, it's licking its lips, it's opening its mouth, it's turning its head, okay? It's seeking, it's rooting, it's looking for the breast. And those are the cues that say, Mom, feed me, and feed me now, please. And if we ignore those early cues, you then get the mid cues. And baby is saying, I'm really hungry, you need to feed me now. Okay, so baby's stretching, he's put his hands to his mouth, he's increasing his movement. And if we again ignore these cues, we then get late cues. And you're now got to calm me, and then you will only be able to feed me. Okay, so there's lots of movement. Baby's crying, may turn red from all of the stress and the crying. And so you need to calm the crying baby before you even try to feed. Cuddle, skin to skin, singing, talking, stroking. And then when baby is calm, we can feed me. So you can see it's a whole lot easier if we pick up on baby's early cues for feeding, okay? And then we've got a calm, peaceful baby that is not frantic and frenetic, and so will feed better, okay? And it just works a whole lot easier if we look for those early cues and respond to them, instead of trying to delay the inevitable, because we're perhaps looking at our watch and saying, oh, well, you know, you can just wait a few minutes. It's only a very short period of time since you last fed. Okay, again, those posters, if you want to refer to them, download them, you'll find them on the expectantmothersguide.coza website. Okay, we spoke about reverse pressure softening. Okay, if we were still talking about engorgement, and if our breasts are just so engorged, full, hard, and that nipple area is hard, it's very, very difficult for that baby to latch onto the breast because it just slides off, because that breast just doesn't indent for them to latch onto nicely. And so we want to actually move some of this fluid away from that nipple area so that it softens and so that baby's able to latch nicely. And so we can use our fingers, 2 or 3 together on the sides. We can use it with the thumbs on the side of the nipple area next to each other or opposite each other, and we can actually push that fluid temporarily out of that area in order for the baby to latch better. It's a very simple intervention. There's gentle positive pressure to soften that areola and the immediate surrounds, and it shifts the fluid temporarily and it makes it easier for the baby to latch. Okay, so you can see the different techniques, how you can place your fingers just to actually get that fluid shifted out of that area. Okay, then we can experience blocked ducts. Okay, so you get a little duct that is now blocked, and it's not, the bleb, remember, is a little bit of skin covering the outer duct from the nipple area. A blocked duct internally more, okay, gives you a sore area in a particular region. So again, if you've got a blocked duct, you want to actually put your baby to latch on the affected sore, the blocked side first, because again, the suck is going to be stronger at the beginning of a feed, and you want that baby to put good suction on the breast to actually try and relieve that blocked duct. Again, you can use your warm, moist cloth. Okay, you can use a pump if it's not being relieved. Okay, we want to unblock that duct as soon as possible. So you can massage the lump, you can go and stand in the shower and let those jets of water, nice hot without burning. It's make sure you test the temperature before you stand under those jets. You don't want burnt breasts on top of blocked ducts, okay? But it's like a fine massage, okay, if you stand in the shower, and that can be very, very helpful. Okay, and then we get mastitis, okay, and sometimes blocked ducts don't clear, and then the area around that blocked duct becomes infected, and an infection in the breast is called mastitis. Okay, so it's an inflammation or infection of the breast that is caused by an obstruction, an infection, or an allergy. Some people say it's most common in those first 2 to 3 weeks, but really it can occur at any stage when you are breastfeeding. So you often notice a hard lump. The area is tender, it's hot, it's swollen, it's reddened. But the difference between a blocked duct and mastitis is that when you've got mastitis, you as the mom have got symptoms that are flu-like, fever, chills, aching, malaise. You just feel ghastly, okay? And now you've got this baby that you're needing to breastfeed as well. So You want to nurse or express every 2 hours. We want to actually clear these breasts. And you don't need to stop breastfeeding. You can carry on breastfeeding. And a baby is always the best way to empty the breast. So you can use heat, very gentle massage before nursing or expressing. It can be painful. It really is sometimes not pleasant, but this too shall pass. Remember that. Okay, those Epsom salts rinses can be useful. So you want to ensure you're in a good latch position, and you can use massage plugged area towards the nipple. It gets too painful. If it gets too painful, switch sides for a while and come back. Okay, but we need to get these breasts empty and clear. And so the way to do it is that your baby needs to suck as much as possible. And if your baby isn't suckling for whatever reason, we need to then express. But we need to keep that milk flow going as well. You can use a cold compress after feed to help with pain and inflammation. You can use anti-inflammatories after the feed if you've got extreme pain. And if there's no improvement 12 to 24 hours after it started, you may actually need some antibiotics to treat. And again, there's no reason to discard the milk, no reason to stop breastfeeding. You actually need to just continue, whether you're on antibiotics or not. Okay, your baby needs the breast milk. Sometimes when you've got mastitis on the infected side, the milk quantity can be decreased temporarily. Okay, don't be stressed by this. Okay, as that infection actually clears, so your milk supply will revert back again. But it's very important. Some people go to the physio and get sonar treatment on the breasts. We just need to release the block ducts underneath to get that milk flowing. Okay, do the antibiotics not have an impact on your baby? Yes, ideally, we don't want this baby to be exposed to antibiotics, without a doubt, but the breast milk is so important that even if it contains antibiotics, breast milk is more important that it goes into your baby. So yes, we can actually continue breastfeeding through antibiotics. You and your baby can have probiotics as well to counteract the negative effects of what antibiotics do, but you can definitely breastfeed if you're on your penicillin type of antibiotics. Okay, so back to our interaction. What do you think this is? Let's hear from you in the chat box. What is it? Hopefully it's easily recognizable. And what do you think it signifies in our lactation pack? Yes, it's a clock. Okay, feeding time for baby. Don't breastfeed too long. Time for feeds. Best time to breastfeed. Feeding time for baby on schedule. Okay, so yes, it is a clock. And one of the things it signifies is give yourself time to learn the skill to breastfeed. Okay, although it's something that is natural, it's natural to the extent that we actually do need to learn about it and, you know, sometimes experiment and get it right. So give yourself time to learn the skill. Yes, breastfeed often and don't breastfeed by the clock. Okay, breastfeed on demand and remember the cues to early feeding that your baby's going to tell you when your baby is hungry. Okay, oh goodness, what has a cherry got in common with a a walnut with a apricot with a egg. What do you think those four things have in common, and what is it trying to show you? Tummy size, whoopsie, yes, Leonie. Size of a newborn's tummy. Okay, day one, that baby's stomach size is the size of a cherry, 5 to 7 mils. And it's so important for moms to realize this, that actually in those early days, you're not giving your babies liters of milk. A teaspoon is all that baby needs at a time. By day 3, it's increased to the size of a walnut, 22 to 27 mils, so about 4 to 5 teaspoons. Okay, by a week, it's the size of an apricot, 45 to 60 mils, and by 1 month, the size of a large egg, 80 to 150 mils. So it's important to keep this all in context, that actually a newborn stomach size is really, really small. And so we don't need to give large quantities, but frequent small quantities. Okay, goodness, what have we got then? What is that trying to tell us? Let's hear. Yes, watermelon, a cherry size for each feed. So that basically you only need to give equivalent to a cherry size feed, or a teaspoon of milk at a time is all that baby's stomach can actually have. And so it's really small, and that is why we need to feed frequently. No, this isn't representing a blocked milk duct or stomach gas. Breastfeeding journeys are roller coasters, Sinclair. I like that one indeed. Be flexible, absolutely. Twists and turns in the breastfeeding journey. Wow, some of you are really on cue there. Okay, it's a bendy pencil. Be flexible with your breastfeeding schedule. Work around your baby. Don't make your baby work around you. And also, they don't all look the same, but they do the same work. Nipples and breasts are all vastly different. They don't look the same, just as this pencil doesn't look the same as our general pencil that is straight, but it actually still is able to be written with. And how about that? Christina said that pencil one is B sharp. Absolutely, I like that description. Yes, we need to be hydrated when we are breastfeeding. Absolutely. Okay, it's a healthy drink. We need to quench your breastfeeding thirst. We are actually using a lot of water, fluid, to actually manufacture breast milk, and so that we need to quench our breastfeeding thirst. Okay, vitamin C in fluid form, yes. Okay, so what have we got here? Lavender, that's right, relax. Yes, terrific. So lavender to relax. We need to be calm, peaceful, and relaxed, ideally in order to breastfeed well. So we want to actually just have some lavender around and keep us relaxed and calm. Okay, so let's look at a low milk supply. And when you talk to moms who have had babies, these 3 words come up quite often. I have a low milk supply. I don't have enough milk. And so let's really just contemplate on this low milk supply. Now, for some people, it's going to be a perceived low supply, because what are our expectations as a breastfeeding mom? That we're going to just feed every 4 hours, and now this baby is asking to be breastfed every 2 hours, and so our perception is that we must have a low milk supply because baby is feeding twice as frequently as we expect, because actually our expectations are wrong and unrealistic. Whereas if we know about breastfeeding and how breastfeeding works, we know that in those early days, we should be feeding, it's not a problem if an hour and a half after your baby is fed that actually they want to feed again, that's fine. So it is all to do about with our expectations, whether we perceive our milk supply being low. Perhaps our breasts don't feel full enough, and so we think we haven't got enough breast milk. Perhaps our baby is crying and not settling nicely, and so, well, it must be that I don't have enough milk. Everyone complains they don't have enough milk. Perhaps your family, mothers, sisters, aunts, are all undermining you and saying, see, your baby is feeding far too frequently. It's not sleeping enough. Your milk's, not adequate. And all of these come into play. And this is a perceived low supply. And there might be absolutely nothing wrong with our breast milk supply at all. We just need to change our expectations to be more realistic. However, it is so important that we trust our bodies. If I say to you, how many of you, when you got up this morning, wondered whether your bladder would fill up enough for you to go and wee today? You all want to laugh at me and say, for goodness sake, we don't have to think about things. That is natural. We have something to drink, we eat, and before we know it, we have this urge to go and wee. And we go and we wee and we carry on until we need to wee again. Now, if you can trust your bladder to fill up adequately enough umpteen times a day in order for you to wee enough, how come that you can't trust the other part of your body called your breasts, that they can actually fill up adequately and enough umpteen times a day in order to breastfeed? And so I think because there is so much perceived low milk supply that people don't know how to trust their body anymore, because they hear everybody just talking about, I couldn't breastfeed, I didn't have enough milk. Instead of saying, actually, I'm trusting my body, and that is going to be good enough for the majority of mamas out there if we have realistic expectations and we understand the concepts of how breastfeeding works. And so trust your body. Your body knows what to do, just as your body knew how to grow your baby. So your body and your breasts know how to fill up with milk so you can breastfeed your baby. Okay, the breast is enough. Top-ups should not routinely be needed. And if we do take top-ups, the supply and the demand is actually affected. And so it is right from the start, from the moment that your baby is born, that actually, as this baby is born, so you should put your baby skin to skin on mom's chest, because what happens at that moment and while your baby is on your chest is that the heart rate stabilizes, the breathing, all stabilizes, the temperature, but also the baby's blood glucose level stabilizes. And so your baby will not need a top-up immediately when this baby is born. And they say, oh, look, your baby's blood sugar level has dropped. We need to give this baby something to drink, okay, to bring its glucose level back up. No. Right from the beginning, let your baby be skin to skin. It stabilizes that baby's blood glucose level. And so we shouldn't be topping up, because once we actually top up and use something else other than the breast and the breast milk at the correct time, we actually are interfering with this wonderful cycle of supply and demand. It's really important to understand how your body actually works, that as your baby drinks from the breast, okay, so your breasts actually know to make more milk. The more baby sucks, the more milk that is made. The more baby sucks, the more milk that is made. And if we go and give a top up and we don't put the baby to the breast is saying, slow down, baby's not sucking, we don't need to make as much milk. And you have just interrupted the most precious cycle imaginable, okay, with breastfeeding. And so bear those things in mind. There are some people, a small percentage, thankfully, that do have an actual low supply of breast milk. Some of the most common reasons, the one is that poor latch. If that baby hasn't got a good latch, is not positioned well at the breast, they aren't able to suckle properly on the breast and empty that breast and have good milk transfer. And so, because baby's not latched properly, not transferring that milk, okay, there isn't that stimulation. Oh, wow, baby's emptying my breasts. I need to actually manufacture more milk. And so that poor latch can negatively affect your actual breast milk supply. Also, not breastfeeding often enough. Now, most newborns need to breastfeed every 2 to 3 hours during the day and the night. Okay, it's a lot of times. Okay, 8 to 12 times. Some people will say at minimum of 12 times in those few early days. And the more you put the baby to the breast, the more you will stimulate your body to make a healthy supply of breast milk. There are growth spurts the babies actually go through that they need more. And so the way they actually increase that milk supply that is too low for them during the growth spurts is that they need to feed more frequently in order to build that milk supply up. Supply and demand again. So we'll feed frequently for a day or two, and then that supply has increased. But if we are stressed, exhausted, or perhaps have had some breast surgery, we might actually have a low supply. And so we need to look at the stress, we need to look at the exhaustion, we need to get people in so that they can actually help you sleep, help you with the tasks around the home in order for you not to be stressed and exhausted, that you can have an adequate milk supply. So your signs of a low milk supply is that you have not got enough wet or dirty nappies, there's a lack of weight gain, there's signs of dehydration, and you've got a miserable baby. Okay, so really things we don't want to see. So it's really important that you eat and drink adequately and correctly. You sleep when your baby sleeps, and get a babysitter in order to sleep if you've really got an unsettled, colicky baby. Ideally, you will have your baby skin to skin in bed and just be together and relax. As I say, there are magical powers of mom and baby being skin to skin, no matter the age of your baby. Stop worrying and trust your baby. There is also called power pumping for certain situations in order to increase your milk supply if there is a problem. And what we do there is that we'd pump for 20 minutes, you'd rest for 10 minutes, pump for 10 minutes, rest for 10 minutes, and pump for 10 minutes. And that is really a super boost to supply, just to increase, because we demand and supply. We want to create the demand so our bodies respond by supplying. Okay, now a fast letdown, you think, oh goodness me, I've got a fast letdown, my milk's there, I've got lots of milk, but that can also be not great to have to experience, okay? Because if there's a fast letdown, your baby can gag, he can choke, he can gulp, he can gasp, he can cough while nursing, and it really is quite off-putting for them, because they do feel as though they're drowning, okay, when there's just so much milk trying to actually go down their throats. So they pull up the breast by nursing, they clamp down on the nipple to slow the flow. They're clicking sounds, they're very gastrointestinal discomfort during feeding. So yes, if you have got a fast letdown, we need to do a little bit about it to actually make this baby manage it better, so it's not a negative experience being on the breast either. Okay, so if it's too fast, we need to make this baby work harder for it, and gravity, for this baby to work against gravity, or gravity to work against us, so that you're going to make your baby drink uphill, okay, in relation to the mom's breast. She lies back, and then actually gravity will help be her friend and slow that fast letdown down a bit. One needs to burp your baby frequently. You nurse more frequently to reduce the milk storage between feeds. And you can also wait for the letdown before latching. So if it's very unpleasant for your baby, and it can then become a negative experience at the breast, that you will let that letdown occur, you will just, you know, catch the sprays of milk that are just spraying out everywhere. And once the flow is settled, you will then latch the baby and make it a much more pleasant, enjoyable breastfeeding experience. Okay. All right. Not going to talk too much about expressing, but when we talk about expressing, just for the next few minutes, we're talking about a normal, healthy, full-term baby. Remember, next month, in November, we're going to be talking about prem babies. Okay, now pumping only tells you how much you can pump. It's not an indicator of supply. Remember, a baby is going to much more effectively actually take milk out of the breast than a breast pump. Okay, ideally, when you're on maternity leave and you're all going well with breastfeeding, you don't want to start pumping and storing breast milk for at least 6 to 8 weeks. It's not necessary. We want our breasts to actually we want to settle into breastfeeding. We want to be comfortable and confident with breastfeeding, and it allows your milk supply to establish and stabilize according to the needs of your baby. All right, so in those early months, it's really nice if we can just be quietly and calmly at peace with our baby and feed our baby when our baby actually needs to be fed, non-stressed. Okay, the first weeks of a new baby are tough, and so there's no need to add to this unnecessarily to try and express for when we finished maternity leave. Hopefully that's a little bit further down the line, and you can just actually do that a bit later. Okay, Our main motivation around wanting to express and store breast milk in those early days is the feeling that your partner wants to do a feed with baby or to help out the breastfeeding parent. And this is a double-edged sword. Okay, one needs to have a look at this family unit, at your family unit, at you and your partner. And it just makes so much common sense to actually breastfeed. You've got the breasts, and breastfeed and establish breastfeeding as much as possible. There are other ways that dad can actually be involved and participate. He doesn't have to be involved with the breastfeeding by actually trying to express and feed your baby expressed breast milk. You're making double the time, double the problems, and problems when you skip a feed or you're trying to express so that you can sleep. It's a lot quicker and more effective is just to let your baby feed off the breast, and maybe let dad change the nappy and bring your baby to you, or wind the baby after feeding and put your baby back down to sleep. But another wonderful way that he can participate with your baby that's really, really special is at bath time, and he can bath the baby. Okay, there's plenty of time down the line when your little one is actually going to be introduced to solid food, and dad can play a role there, that actually leave the breastfeeding to mom. The other ways that he can actually do it. You put yourself at greater risk of blocked ducts and mastitis if you actually are expressing and not expressing for a time. Okay. When you get to 6 or 8 weeks, and maybe you're thinking of going back to work soon after, you can start with 1 or 2 express sessions a week, just as practice and getting comfortable, and you've got a little bit of milk stored in the freezer just in case. Okay, a very good idea as far as expressing goes is make sure you know how to actually hand express, because your hands are always with you and you might not always have a pump or have a problem, and it really is not painful or overly difficult for the majority of people to actually express manually, and it really does work effectively. If you're using a pump, what is really, really important is this flange part where your that is against your breast and your nipple. You need to make sure that this flange tubing here is actually the right size, because if it's too small, it's going to put friction on the middle, on the nipple, and if it's too large, it's also going to pull too much of the nipple down into the little channel and actually can cause some friction as well. So it's very important, again, is your nipple the size of a pinky or the size of a thumb, and find the correct flange size. Okay. You can use your breast shells, okay, to collect that milk if you want to. But yes, I'm just going to go through this. Remember, you can store breast milk, okay, on a countertop for 4 hours, in a fridge for 4 days, and in a freezer at -18 for between 6 to 12 months. Okay, so you can actually store breast milk. Okay, your storage tips, you need to label the breast milk when it was expressed, so you use the oldest milk first. Don't store it in the door of the fridge or the freezer, but in the back part, because that is where the temperature will remain the most constant and the coldest. Okay, remember that when you're freezing breast milk, don't fill it up to the top of the container. Breast milk will expand with freezing like water does. Okay, and one of the things that is really important is that you write on the expressed milk when you expressed it. So whether it was a morning expression or an afternoon expression or during the night expression, because the milk is not constant during the day or the night, okay? It changes from one feed to the next. And there are all sorts of hormones that come into play. For example, your tryptophan that makes the melatonin, which is your sleep hormone that is going to get your baby to sleep. There's going to be more of that during your night so that your baby sleeps. And so you don't want to use expressed night milk first thing in the morning when we're wanting this baby to wake up and have an active day. And so it's very important to actually try and use that milk at the same time as when you expressed it. So if it's a morning expression, you use it in the morning. And if it's a night expression, you use it at night. Okay, don't ever warm it up, breast milk. Don't ever put it in the microwave, and don't ever thaw it in the microwave. You need to put it on the counter and let it thaw, or put it in a container that is sealed and put it in a dish of warm water and let it actually thaw slowly. And you will find the milk separates, the fat separates, and you just need to swirl it around to actually get it to mix again. Okay, this is just telling you all about the melatonin and the tryptophan. I just want to go through this. Okay, all right. What do you think our lactation station is telling us at this stage? Any ideas? Any ideas? Breastfeeding's not easy. Okay, this is a twisted clock to demonstrate that some days are going to be worse than others, but we'll get back to normal eventually. Okay. What do you think the Expectant Mother's Guide is there to remind you of? Follow the Facebook page. Yeah, to follow the Facebook page, follow Instagram. Go to the website expectantmothersguide.co. So there's good breastfeeding advice there. You can find lactation consultants listed there. Okay. What do you think that is? Making notes of your progress, diary to write in feeding times or milks pumped out. Notebook, yes, definitely an empty exercise book, notebook, reminding mom, baby is his own book, an individual in his own right. He is not the same as his brother or sister that have come before him, and nor will he be the same as the one that comes after him, nor will he be the same as your friends, your sister's babies. Don't compare them. Remember, they are actually on their own. They are unique. What is that saying to us? Be happy, happy breastfeeding, positivity, remain positive, and enjoy the journey. Absolutely. Smile, be happy, and enjoy breastfeeding. And remember, it gets easier every day. Okay, the bad days will pass. What is that showing us? And while you're thinking about that, we're nearly reaching the end of our evening. And so there will be a form, and Tammy will put the link to fill in the form. We really do appreciate the feedback forms. And when we receive the feedback forms, they will go into the giveaways. So please don't forget to fill in the feedback form so that you can enter the giveaways as well as receive your certificate of attendance. Okay, happy family, happy mum, happy baby. Enjoy every moment, enjoy the time with baby. Happy mummy, happy baby. A happy mum is a happy baby. Absolute, whoops. Smiling mom reassures baby as well. Okay, they pick up your cues. You need to tell them everything is all well out there so they can actually feel all well out there. What about that one? What do you think that one's there doing? Mother's love, mom's love towards baby, and baby feeling loved. Love my baby. Smile even when you don't feel like it. Okay, and then life will have a better outlook to it. Yes, love yourself, your feeding, and your baby. Gotta love the little smiles. And as much as we should try and keep smiling through the good days and the bad, there are some people who actually have something called DMER, which is dysphoric milk ejection reflex. And this is a condition where breastfeeding actually makes you feel sad. It actually does not have a nice experience as you get your, particularly your let down reflex. It's a negative emotion that occurs just before let down and continues for a few minutes. It can be uncomfortable mood, sadness, depressed mood, anxiety, irritability, restlessness, and it may occur with milk expression as well. It's the let down that is having the problem. So you let down when you express as well as when your baby is sucking. It's not about nipple sensation or dislike for breastfeeding or postnatal depression or breast aversion. It's linked to inappropriate drop in dopamine that occurs generally with milk ejection. And milk release is caused by an increase in oxytocin, and the drop in dopamine is to allow an increase in prolactin, and it's just an excessive drop. And so it's not about disliking breastfeeding or not enjoying it. It's actually a hormonal component. And it can be mild, moderate, or severe. If it's mild, you might just need to understand the feelings and help deal with it. Moderate DMER, you can be helped by tracking symptoms, finding things that aggravate the symptoms, finding something positive to concentrate on at the time when it actually is. Whereas your severe DMER, you may need prescription treatment from your healthcare professional. Again, it's just something that is worth knowing about in case it happens to you or somebody you know. You can get support and information from lactation consultants as well as dmer.org. How about this one? Why have we put this in? See if any of you can guess. No, it's called keep your sense of humor. Okay, if all else fails, never let the sense of humor fail. Okay, we're just going to flip through that. This one is just for mom to spoil herself. Celebrate achievements of the little goals. with whatever is special for you. Every mom and baby are different. What works for you might not work for the next mom and baby. Experiment. See what best works for the two of you. If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. Use the basic principles of breastfeeding, and if you are battling, get help fast from a lactation consultant. You can breastfeed multiples as well. You can breastfeed if you get COVID. You don't have to stop, just wear a mask, okay? You can have the COVID vaccination and still continue to breastfeed. Okay, if you need to find breastfeeding help, you can find it in the Expectant Mother's Guide. Remember, the expectation is not to have all these items on hand that we've talked about tonight, okay? You do not need them just in case. It's about knowing what is available out there. So I hope you have learned something about all these things and about breastfeeding. Remember, skin to skin, right from birth, is really absolutely essential. So your baby can go through the 9 instinctive stages, breastfeed, baby's microbiome formation, and to give baby a healthy immune system. And all of these posters and information are again on the expectantmothersguide.co.za website. Okay, people, we will say thank you for joining us. Stay safe. Have a lovely weekend, except it's not quite the weekend, but the rest of the week before the weekend. Good night to you all.